There's a moment in every great story where someone is given the chance to see the future and refuses. In the year 2000, a small, struggling DVD by mail startup walked into the most powerful video rental company on the planet. They asked for a partnership. They were laughed out of the room. 20 years later, that struggling startup is worth over $150 billion, and that powerful company is gone. Every single store is gone except one. To understand how Blockbuster fell, you first have to understand how enormous it actually was. This wasn't just a video rental store. At its peak, Blockbuster had 9,000 locations across the world. It employed 60,000 people. It was pulling in $6 billion a year. $6 billion. Friday night in America didn't mean going out. It meant Blockbuster. Meanwhile, in a small office in Northern California, a man named Reed Hastings was sitting with a problem. He had returned a copy of Apollo 13 to his local video store weeks late and had been charged $40 in late fees. $40. He was embarrassed, frustrated, and then quietly he started asking a different kind of question. Not why did this happen, but why does this have to exist at all? What Hastings understood almost instinctively was that delayed fees weren't just an inconvenience. It was a relationship problem. Every time a customer walked into Blockbuster and got charged for being human, for forgetting, for being busy, for life simply happening, that customer felt punished. And people don't stay loyal to things that punish them. Netflix launched in 1998 with a simple, radical idea. No late fees, DVDs delivered to your door, a monthly subscription. The concept sounds obvious now. At the time, most people thought it was a novelty. Blockbuster suddenly did. This is the moment the story pivots. In the year 2000, Netflix was hemorrhaging money. The company was collapsing around them. Reed Hastings flew to Dallas to Blockbuster headquarters and made an offer. He proposed that Blockbuster acquire Netflix for $50 million. $50 million for what would become one of the most dominant companies in entertainment history. Blockbuster's executives reportedly laughed. And here's what makes that moment so haunting. It wasn't stupidity. Not entirely. From where they were sitting, the laughter made a kind of sense. Netflix was small. Netflix was losing money. DVDs through the mail, that felt like a fad. A quirky workaround for a problem that didn't really need solving. What they failed to see was what the late fee represented. It wasn't just bad customer experience. It was a crack in the foundation. A signal that the entire model, come to us on our schedule, pay our penalties, was built on friction. And friction in the long run always loses. Through the early 2000s, Blockbuster remained dominant. And that dominance fed a very specific kind of arrogance. Not loud, not obvious, but deep. The kind of arrogance that whispers, "We are too big to fail." But something was shifting beneath the surface. By 2004, Netflix had 4 million subscribers. By 2005, that number doubled and Blockbuster finally began to feel it. So they did something interesting. They brought in a new CEO, a man named John Antioco. And Antioco, to his genuine credit, understood the threat. He killed the late fees. He launched Blockbuster Online. At Blockbuster, we're not just doing online movie rental, we're doing it better. With unlimited movie rentals to your door in about a day or two, over 50,000 titles. And with Blockbuster Online, you get something no one else can give you. A free in-store rental every week, whenever you want. A direct competitor to Netflix. He began dismantling the very friction that had quietly been poisoning the brand for years. It was bold, it was smart, and it was almost enough. Almost. Here is something they don't always tell you about corporate collapse. It rarely comes purely from the outside. While Antioco was fighting Netflix with one hand, he was fighting his own board with the other. Blockbuster's largest shareholder, an activist investor named Carl Icahn, despised the new strategy. The No Late Fees campaign had cost the company $400 million in revenue almost overnight. Antioco's turnaround plan was expensive, uncertain, and slow. Wall Street doesn't do slow. Icahn pushed back hard. He cut Antioco's budget. He undermined the online expansion. He pressured the board until Antioco, the man who had arguably come closest to saving Blockbuster, resigned. And in his place, a man named Jim Keyes, a CEO who in 2008 said publicly on record that he saw no credible threat from Netflix. 2008. The same year, Netflix began moving into streaming. Streaming didn't arrive like an earthquake. It arrived like water, slowly, quietly rising around everything. Blockbuster had built until one day the ground beneath them had simply disappeared. By 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. 9,000 stores, 60,000 employees, $6 billion a year gone. And what's remarkable, what's genuinely worth sitting with is that Blockbuster had seen it coming, had tried to respond, had built a competitor to Netflix that at one point was actually better than Netflix in certain ways, but they kept stopping themselves. Every time the transformation became too expensive, too disruptive, too threatening to the existing business, someone in a boardroom pulled the brakes because saving the future meant sacrificing the present. And human beings, even brilliant ones, find that almost impossible to do. Today there's one Blockbuster store left on the planet. One. It sits in Bend, Oregon. It has blue carpet and familiar shelves and a staff that has become somehow both a tourist attraction and a symbol. People drive hours to visit it. They take photos. They feel something they can't quite name. Nostalgia maybe. Or something more melancholy than that, because what they're really visiting isn't a video store. It's a reminder that nothing, no matter how dominant, how embedded, how certain of its own future, is immune to change. Netflix is now one of the most powerful entertainment companies in human history. It has changed how stories are told, how they're funded, how they reach people. And Reed Hastings, the man who was laughed out of a boardroom in Dallas, built it all on one simple belief: that customers deserve to be respected. But here is the question that lingers long after this story ends. How many Blockbusters exist today in different industries, different boardrooms, different forms, sitting inside their $6 billion certainty, laughing at the Reed Hastings standing across the table? How many are already too powerful to notice the water rising? History doesn't repeat itself, but it does occasionally rewind. And perhaps that is the real reason the Blockbuster story still matters. The company didn't disappear because people suddenly stopped watching movies. It disappeared because the way people wanted to watch them changed, and changing with them became harder than protecting what already worked. Netflix understood that convenience could become a habit, and that habits could become an entire business model. Blockbuster understood the threat, but understanding something and acting on it are two very different things. The lesson extends far beyond entertainment. Every successful company eventually faces a moment when its biggest strength becomes its greatest weakness. The systems that once created billions can become the systems that prevent the next billion. Customers rarely announce that they are leaving. They simply discover something easier, faster, cheaper, or better, and slowly change their behavior. By the time the old company notices the numbers, the decision has already been made by the market. Blockbuster had the stores, the customers, the money, and the brand. What it couldn't secure was the future, and that is why the most dangerous sentence in business may be, "We've always done it this way."